I'm your temporary host for the night, Brent Thomas. I am joined by the wonderful and amazing Daniela Iolo. And today we got a special guest joining us, and this is Mr. Kevin Keeney of Arizona Squatch. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Hello. Thank you. Great to be back.
You're welcome. And how you doing, Daniela?
I'm doing good, thank you. I just wanted to make a little announcement before we start that sadly we've heard that a great lady in waiting, passed away earlier this month. And I don't know too much about her, but she recorded some amazing audio, and her channel was called Bigfoot Research. And Christopher Noel made a nice little tribute to her today. And I thought we would play that first, just to acknowledge a passing. So I'll put that on. Here we go.
Recently, we've experienced several high-profile and startling deaths in the Sasquatch research community. Today, I want to say goodbye to and honor a researcher with a low profile by her own choice. She didn't do interviews or seek to push her name out there. Lady in Waiting simply steadily researched her local group and posted her findings. Back in 2014, when in my ravine I experienced months worth of Sasquatch drumming and knocking, I looked far and wide for an example of the same type of rhythmic and insistent knocking. And Lady in Waiting was the only one that I found. She posted 220 fascinating research videos over the past 7 years, and I recommend them highly. Her channel name is Bigfoot Research, one word.
What was that?
Lady in Waiting, I appreciate you, and I will miss you.
So there we go. Just a little clip of some of the audio that she captured, and prayers and thoughts are going out to her family.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing. She must have been at this quite a long time, because I can't imagine how hard it was to secure the name Bigfoot Research unless she's had a channel forever, you know?
Yeah, and quite a few videos on there. I did actually have a look and today, and some of the audio, some of the vocals are amazing. So yeah, I'm going to check out her channel a bit more.
Yeah, I think I will too.
So,
go ahead.
You go.
Are you sure? Okay. All right. Well, Kevin, now I had the pleasure of talking with you the last appearance that you made on the show, and it's great to be able to have another opportunity to. But last time you're on, we had a great discussion about your research and how you do things and some of the amazing things you've witnessed and recorded and have been working on. But what's been happening since last time we talked?
Oh man. You know, it's you know, to sit and try and explain what's happened since the last time we talked is, you know, kind of an impossibility, you know, with the amount of time that I'm spending out in the field, you know, just shy of 5,000 hours in the last 30 months. So, you know, it's, you know, you spend that much time out in the field and, you know, doing what I do. Mostly I'm just sitting there in total darkness, you know, no campfires, no lights, no nothing. Senses are heightened, and, you know, it's just interactions on a nightly basis. And, you know, sometimes during the day, you know, I had one episode where I called it, we were playing tag, you know, they could get a branch break outside of camp. So I'd go to that. They'd do it somewhere else. I'd go to that. And, you know, we did that for about 4 or 5 hours, and I came back to camp and, yeah, you know, I told them, you know, look, hey, you know, I'm tired, I'm hungry, you know, I'm a broken old man. I can't be running around the forest like this. And you know, so I'd sat down, and just outside of the camp, this tree just starts going like this, probably about 50 yards away from me, 50, 60 yards away. Yeah, so I was like, oh, cool, I've got to get this. And so I reached over and grabbed my GoPro. Yeah, I turned the GoPro on, and it just beeped at me. And I didn't have the SD card in it because it was in my laptop downloading the previous video that I had made. And I was just like, yeah, what the hell, you know? But, you know, so stuff like, you know, a lot of stuff like that, you know, it is kind of on the bottom level of the scale of a lot of what I experience. You know, I don't really hear, you know, listening to the shows, hear a lot of people talking about, you know, the stuff like the mind speak and, yeah, you know, and I'm going to say, I absolutely hate and despise the term cloaking, but that's what everybody uses. So that's what we'll use. I refer to it more of a distortion or a shimmering image. But, you know, when you see stuff like this, yeah, you know, the first time you see it, it's like, what the hell did I just see? Right. You know, and then you see it again, and 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 you start realizing that, you know, this is not a figment of my imagination. This is not my eyes playing tricks on me, you know, because when, you know, you're looking at this shape of a person, you know, standing there, but it's just kind of like this wavy light pattern. You know, kind of the best way I can describe what it looks like most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, is like when water's reflecting, or, you know, you're looking at a swimming pool or a clear lake or something, and the water's moving. And so you're getting that light displacement on the bottom, you know, where you know, it's like light in motion. That's kind of, you know, kind of like what I'm looking at. And that's, you know, that's the best way I can describe it. You know, so much of this is really hard to describe. You know, it's like, you know, going up to somebody who's been blind since birth and trying to describe the color blue to them. You know, it's like, you know, you know, how do you describe this? You know, unless you're actually out there experiencing this stuff, you know, it's almost impossible to try and describe it. But so I'll do the best I can. You know, one of the first times that I saw the shimmering image, I was sitting at my primary location, which is permanently closed now. Thank you, U.S. Forest Service. But I was sitting there, and I was having my normal activity. They came in from the east side of my camp, moved around to the north and to the west side, and they took up their posts. And, you know, I was getting the click sounds and, you know, some twig breaks and, you know, just the, you know, here I am, you know, just the normal stuff. And then I get this distinct feeling that somebody is standing behind me. You know, so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, you're standing right behind me, aren't you? Yeah. And I said, I'm going to stand up. And I waited, you know, maybe 30 seconds to a minute before I stood up, because I didn't want to startle him. Right. And, you know, so I stood up real slowly, and I said, okay, I'm going to turn around now. And once again, I waited, you know, 30 seconds to a minute before I turned around. And as soon as I turned around, about 10 feet behind me, I'm looking at this 8-foot figure, but it's just this light pattern, you know, that's moving around. And I'm like going, holy you know, but as soon as I turned around and I saw that, I got paralyzed. I was not able to move my arms, my legs. You know, I could move my head, I could talk, I could think and do all that just fine. But I was literally frozen, not from fear or anything like that. It was just, you know, and, you know, so I was like, okay, I get it. I'll sit back. You know, if you let go, I'll sit back down. Yeah, just like that, it was done. I turned around, sat back down, and, you know, the activity continued on like that for, you know, probably about another 30 minutes. And you know, when stuff like that happens, it just drains you, you know. And I was like, all right, you know, I was planning on staying up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and here it is 9:30 at night, and I can't even keep my eyes open, so off to bed I go. You know, so, you know, I know how hard it is, you know, for people to wrap their head around that this could ever possibly happen. Right. You know, so once again, I go back to, don't let your paradigm dictate what your experience is going to be. Let your experiences dictate where your paradigm is at. Mm-hmm. You know, because if you're going into this with a single thought process, you know, mindset, philosophy that this is what they have to be and this is what they're capable of, all this other stuff out here is not possible. Well, you've just stepped out of the realm of being an actual researcher, because if you're going to research, you've got to research what everybody is experiencing. You know, what, you know, whether you really want to believe it or not, you know, it's, you know, that's fine. But, you know, trying to process how this, you know, how this happens, you know, this is one of the things that's caused me to dive into quantum physics. You know, particle wave dualities, you know, light, you know, why we're able to see what we can see is these waves and particles reflecting, or, you know, hitting a substance, whether it's a tree, a wall, you know, whatever it is we see, it's because these particles are, you know, in the visible light, are hitting these, and what we're able to see is because that is actually what's not being absorbed by that, you know, by that item. So you see you see something that's green. Well, in the spectrum of light, the part that, you know, the green part of the light is what's not being absorbed by that. So then thus you're able to see it. You know, so, you know, I'm not going to try and get it in real complicated and real, you know, deep into the quantum world on this, but you know, it's, you know, I got to find answers, you know, or attempt to find answers to these things that I'm experiencing, you know. So then you throw, you know, these shimmering images on top of, you know, thoughts being popped into your head that are not your thoughts, you know, the mind speak. Yeah. And, you know, it's just amazing stuff. You know, it's, you know, there's a lot of things in life I could be out doing, but I choose to be out there because of these experiences I'm having. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's, you know, most of the time I'm out there by myself. Probably 2/3 of the amount of time that I'm out there, I'm literally by myself. I have a very close researcher friend. He's a BFRO field investigator. His name's Chuck, retired fire chief. You know, very analytical guy. You know, I'm a very analytical guy. You know, we just sit out there going, what the hell? You know, how in the world could you possibly explain this stuff? You know, outside of, you know, what we think we know. And what we think we know is very little, you know, or what we know compared to what we think we know is very little. So,
yeah. Well, I think you really hit on a really important point, and that is to get rid of preconceptions prior to truly investigating something, because if you go into it with a lot of preconceptions, you're only going to filter through a fraction of what's actually happening to you. And you know, how can you get a complete, if you're doing data sets or whatever? I mean, you can't just selectively choose what you're willing to report and what you're not willing to. A good friend and guest I've had on the portal is Donald Schmidt. he's one of the foremost investigators at Roswell, and he was a MUFON investigator first, and he said, I went out there, and he said I didn't believe in any of that crap. He said I was pretty sure that I was going to go and do an investigation on this and find out the whole Roswell thing was a joke. But he said I made sure before I went to clear any expectations and just go. I made a vow to go wherever the data and the research led. And he's since, convinced that there was indeed something going on there. But I don't think he would have been able to do that had he not had an open mind. And so I think you're absolutely right that to truly investigate something, you've got to, come in with a blank slate and just say, all right, let's see what I find.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a really good one. My last sighting, which was somewhere around the beginning of September, time frame's blurring on exactly when it was, but it was in September. And I was up at this new location that I've been at pretty much all year, sitting by myself. The sun has set behind the trees, but it wasn't dark out by any means.
Okay.
And the sun's behind me, and I'm sitting there and looking off in the direction where I get all these twinkle lights and orbs and, just this insane activity. And I hear a branch break, so I look off to my 11 o'clock position, and I'm like, across this little 2-track dirt road from where I'm camping at, there's a pretty good set of trees over there, and it gets kind of dark in there. Then it drops off downhill down into this ravine. But so I'm sitting there looking, and I'm going, I think I'm seeing one. I go, am I seeing you? And I kind of said that out loud. And just then it starts doing this. And I'm like going, aha, okay, yep, got him. And so I'm like, I'm going to walk over to you. Yeah, and I'm going to stop right there. This is not the first time I've done this. But so I get up and I start walking over towards him. Now, mind you, I only have one eye. My right eye's prosthetic. So I never blink my eye. I never take my eye off him. There's not really any debris in the way that I have to worry about stepping or tripping. And so I'm just focused on him. Military training. I have my target. I'm coming to you. And I got about 30 yards away from him, 25 yards away from him. He's gone. He didn't drop to the ground. He didn't go right. He didn't go left. He didn't go back. I mean, he just vanished right in front of me. And I go, what the, what do you do with that? I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, he snuck away from you. And yes, I know how sneaky they are. Yes, I know how fast they are. I've seen how fast they are. This guy was standing there, and then he wasn't. After we did the recreation on it, probably between 6.5, 7 foot. Not the big mass build that that a lot of people talk about, and a couple that I've seen that were just massive. Like I said, probably about 6.5, 7 foot tall. Left no tracks, no sign that he was there, but yet I was looking at him. I watched him, rock back and forth. I walked straight up to him, never taking my eye off him, never blinking, not even once. I mean, I was, all right, I'm keeping that eye open, and, yeah, gone. What do you do with that?
I don't know.
And
is this when you've seen it? This is when were you seeing that in that shimmering form then?
No.
So
he went from physical form to there was absolutely nothing there, like he was never there.
Why are they taking a physical form if they can? Like they can in some situations. Why can't they just? Why do they?
all I can say, Daniela, is they do what they do when they do it.
Yeah.
Why, why? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea why. I have no idea how. There's a lot of theories out there, big scientific word for a guess. I can guess all day long, but, it doesn't change the fact that, what I think might have happened and what actually happened could be completely,
Well, what's interesting is we've just listened to that bit of the clip from Lady in Waiting, and you can hear something walking around.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you hear other accounts of people saying, I saw it running, but I didn't hear a thing. Yeah. And it makes you wonder, how are they managing? Well, you hear a lot of those stories where they say they're just kind of gliding, or they can't hear anything. They can't hear them stepping on anything. Maybe it's a half and half thing at that point. I don't know.
I don't know either. My buddy Chuck, he one time said, maybe because of the way their feet are designed, with all the hair and that, it's like running on shag carpet. We don't think that. That was just, one of the gazillion possible answers that it could be. What I can tell you is, the alpha male, I call him Indy. I saw him wasn't even a second. And this was back at Squatch Camp last year. And one of my last trips up there last year. And he was probably 30 yards away from me. And I heard a snap over at my 11 o'clock position. And knowing how fast I move, I didn't look at the 11 o'clock. I leaded the target. And so I looked over, and I just that quick, he went by. The barrel of his chest, from his chest to his back, was probably 3 feet thick. Because of the trees that were behind him, some of these young saplings, that were 14, 15 feet tall. When I lost track of him is when he got into those trees. So I was able to judge from where I was sitting, how tall the trees are, and where his head came to that on there. And when I got Chuck over there, and Chuck's like 6'1", and Chuck looked like an infant compared to him. And I was just like, that's when I really went, holy hell, he was big. But, he made no more noise than a butterfly. And yet another location I was at, I was sitting there. I had somebody else up with me, and he was passed out across from me. And so I'm just sitting there. It's like 38 degrees outside, so it's cold, for a desert rat. It's cold. So I'm sitting there, and I'm all bundled up. I got face wrap on, beanie, and all that. So the only thing that's really showing is my eyes. And, I'm sitting perfectly still, and I'm scanning from right to left, left to right. And I saw a figure go by real quick and back behind this tree. So I'm sitting there looking at this tree, and lo and behold, he leans out, and I see 3/4 of his body. I see one full leg, 3/4 of his torso, the one arm, full head. And he leans out, and he's sitting there, just staring at me. And I'm sitting there staring back. He probably thought I was asleep. I don't know. I have no idea what he was thinking. But I sat and watched him, and he watched me. And it had to have been close to 5 minutes until this guy that was up there with me came out of his pass out. And I just real quietly said, whatever you do, don't move. There's one about 10 feet behind you. He goes, what? Where? And this thing, I mean, it sounded like I heard elephants going through there. So why one time they do it, another time they don't? Why they're there, why they're not? I don't have those kind of answers, and I don't know that I will ever have those kind of answers. Probably none of us ever will. And that's kind of why I do things the way I do. I don't set up trail cameras and trap cameras and run video and all that stuff, because when I'm out there, I'm trying to earn trust. I'm trying to develop, per se, a relationship. And, and so far I've been extremely successful with with the stuff that I've got to experience, the things that they've taught me. Like here's a for instance. I constantly ask them, being from the desert, and even down in the lower desert, I found signs of them. Matter of fact, one of the best trackways I've ever found is just on the outskirts of the Phoenix metropolitan area down in the desert at a place called the Salt River. I was baffled, that I was finding that much sign of them. And, so then up in my primary location, which is at 7,600 feet altitude, you got them in the swamps, you got them, they're everywhere. So my question to them, has been, how is it that you guys deal with the temperatures? Are you affected by the cold? Does the cold bother you? Does the heat bother you? Because I'm telling you, when it's 121 degrees outside, and you're this big massive thing covered in hair, how are you operating in the desert? How do you do that? And it's not like I got answered in mind speak. It was quite some time after that I got the answer. And Chuck and myself and my neighbor were sitting at a place I call Crazy Town, or we call Crazy Town because it's crazy there. But we're sitting there. It's about somewhere between 30 to 32 degrees outside. It's cold. No fire, no nothing. I got hand warmers in my pockets. I got, my face wrap on, and all of a sudden I can't feel the hand warmers in my pockets. I can't feel the cold on my face. And the only way I can describe what had happened is I went temperature neutral. It's like temperature didn't exist. So I'm talking out loud, explaining this to my buddy Chuck and my neighbor Scott, that all of a sudden I cannot feel any temperature. And Chuck, jokingly goes, "Hey guys, can you do that to me?" Pow, they did it to him.
That's really curious, huh? What does that mean, though? Do you think that could be a hypnosis of sorts? I know that the First Nations say that these beings have great medicine, and I'm not sure that I understand necessarily what that means, but I assume it means that they have a catalog of mystical abilities in their eyes. Do you suppose that they're actually able to induce illusion, or what do you think those options? Sorry.
To induce illusions.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. What I do know is they can broadcast emotions on you. People talk about all of a sudden I'm afraid. Well, I know that they can do that because they've let me know everything is okay, everything is peaceful. Love. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't want to hear that. That there are these big ferocious things running out in the forest and abduct children and that. That's not them. They're very proud of their families. They're very, very in touch with nature. They're very in touch with the inner emotions. And when you get hit, when I get hit with like this massive power zap, to where it's like I'm real tight in the chest, I'm pinned in my chair. I got like this buzz going over my entire body, and I get hit with this euphoria of the most intense love that you could ever imagine. I had one time that they gave me energy. Cool. I'm not the kind of guy to get up and dance around in that, but after one of these power zaps, and it completely blew Chuck out of the water because he knows my character. That's not me. All of a sudden, I was dead tired. Then I get hit with this power zap. Next thing I know, I can't sit in my chair anymore. I'm up dancing around and singing songs from, like childhood shows from the 70s or something. And I'm like, he's sitting there looking at me like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm just full of energy. I'm full of joy, and happiness." And he goes, "I want some of that." and then that wore off after about I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. And about 20 minutes after that, was all I could do to keep my eyes open. And now, as healing, do they have the ability? You were saying something about with the First Nation people. I can tell you that one of my trips I went up there, I should not have gone. My back was in real bad shape. But once again, the work that I'm doing, I'm either going to hurt at my house or I'm going to hurt up in the mountains. So I'm going to go up in the mountains and hurt. And it took me about 7 hours just to set my tent up and get my air mattress up and then my cot up outside. Yeah, I didn't sleep well the first night. Had a lot of activity the first night. Second night, I couldn't hardly sleep because I was in so much pain. And when I got up the next day, it was like it was almost all I could do to walk, and I was getting a little concerned about, all right, I think I'm, if this doesn't change, I'm going to have to go home. And so that evening, I was sitting there. And I started getting the activity, and I was like, guys, I don't know if this is outside your realm of possibility, but if there's anything you can do for my back, my back hurts really bad, I would greatly appreciate it. That was the end of that conversation. And so I went to bed that night. I woke up next morning. That night, I had the best night's sleep I've had in a long time. And I woke up the next morning, feeling like $1 million, so. What do you do with that? Is that coincidence? One time it could be a coincidence. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times I've had similar things happen. No, you start leaving coincidence to, okay, what is this and how is this happening?
That is interesting. I would say that, is it possible? I suppose it is. It's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around personally, but I think I've long since learned in any of this stuff that you got to kind of accept that anything's possible. The minute I think I know something, then you have somebody offer up an explanation and ideas that make it okay. Maybe that is possible. But do you think it could also be the power of faith? In other words, that many people receive healing based upon a faith in something. And I'm not disqualifying what you're saying, so please don't take it that way at all. But I think that it's the whole, and I don't want to say a placebo effect because I don't think it's necessarily that. But spontaneous healing is a real phenomena that people experience. And do you think that it's necessarily them, or could it be your belief that it happens?
No, I honestly believe it's them.
Okay.
One of my recordings, okay, that this is one of those things that this is where everybody's going to call me a crackpot, and go for it. I don't care. It happened. I've got it on audio. I'm up at Squatch Camp. This was July of 2018, and I had to take my dog with me. We have a little min pin. My wife went to Iowa, so nobody to watch the dog, so dog goes with me. First night I'm up there, I get the tent set up, and I got up there late, so it's dark. It's coming into the we're in the monsoon season. There's some lightning flashing off in the distance. So no, I'm not going to sit out tonight. I'm tired. Gonna hang out in the tent. And so I'm in my tent, and putting my notes into the computer. I got to camp, and because I keep a very tight diary of everything every single time I'm out there. And so I'm doing that, and I'm looking at my audio recording going, I should set it out, but I don't want it to be out there in case it rains. And so I'm clicking a little more, and it's like, all right, I'm just going to turn it on in the tent. So what if I got to listen to 10 hours of me going,
Sure.
So I go to bed, and right about 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, I'm sleeping on a queen size air mattress in my tent. I got my little min pin next to me, and I get woke up to being flipped over onto my back. You know, I don't know if you've ever changed a diaper on a kid. And, you know,
Sure.
you know,
Far too many times.
Okay, so, you know, that's what it felt like. But I got flipped over on my back and slid sideways on the air mattress, and I can't move. I can't talk. I can't do anything but sit there and look at this shimmering image inside my tent.
Mm.
And I'm like going, you know, trying to get sound to come out. And after a couple minutes, I'm finally able to start forcing out, you know, and so this progresses. After a couple more minutes, you know, finally they let go of me, and I'm like, who's that over me? Click. Is that you, Indy? Click. But well, when I asked if that's you, Andy, the click came from outside the tent. There was 6 or 7 more wandering. You know, I could hear them walking around outside the tent, clicking, popping. You know, and so I'm just laying there in amazement. And so I sit up, and when I sat up, all of a sudden my tent's clear and there's nothing going on, and it starts getting quiet outside. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go back to sleep. So I laid back down, went back to sleep. Got up the next morning, and it dawned on me, my dog never budged. Now, I don't know if you know anything about a min pin, but they're like Chihuahuas. You know, the wind blows and she's, what was that? What was that? You know, just very high energy dog, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she never budged. She never budged once, you know. And so I'm like going, okay. So I download the audio, and I just kind of skim through it, and you know, and I hear some stuff. It was when I got home and actually dissected the audio, and I think that's part of the audio that I sent you last time, where it says, "I'm working Kevin" in the whisper. But so as I'm going through the audio, trying to get up to this point, I realized that, you know, what I was awake for was 10, 12 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But this is an hour and 6 minutes of them walking around my tent, clicking, popping, and what do you do with it? You know, how do you explain that? Once again, here I am trying to describe the color blue to somebody who's been blind since birth. You know, it's you know, it's something that was real. It physically happened. I have it on audio recording, you know, on the audio.
Uh-huh. Had you noticed that your tent had been opened or anything like that?
No, tent was never opened. Tent was never opened. So,
wow, intense. I mean, it's very intense, and I'm sure that's, you know, I believe wholeheartedly that was your experience. It's just, you know, it is. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to imagine and try to quantify. But I have no doubt that you're being 100% sincere in exactly what you're saying, and I respect that. It's just, it is really wild to think, what else could they be capable of? What else could be going on here that we just can't possibly understand? Yeah. And that's where it just gets really nebulous in my head. It's like, well, I don't know.
Well, you're not alone. You know, yeah. I'm out there experiencing this stuff, going, you know, having the WTF moment almost every time I'm out there.
Sure.
You know, when this all first started, you know, and I got zapped for the first time, you know, and my buddy Chuck, you know, he's explaining to me what, you know, in the field, what they think zapping is, and, you know, that it's infrasound. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. You know, tigers use infrasound, elephants, you know, there's all kinds of animals out there that use infrasound, until things started happening. And that was like, that can't be infrasound. Well, then what is it? I don't know. Right. You know, a case in point, you know, I've got my family, you know, we're out on our family outing, and my son, who's, you know, in his 30s, his oldest daughter, who's a middle teenager, and then his 2-year-old son at the time. And so we go walk outside of the camp, and, you know, this is nighttime. Campfire's burning back at the camp, but we're walking out around the perimeter, and my 2-year-old grandson, he just keeps staring into this one spot. And, you know, he's got this smile on his face. And my son is the one who notices it, and he says, "Dad, I think he sees one." And I said, "He probably does." And so didn't matter where we went, he kept looking in the same spot. And so we went over by my gifting stump, and then all of a sudden, 2-year-old grandson just starts shaking like this, and immediately I know what's going on. He's getting power zapped. And my son, he's like, "Dad, what's going on with my son?" And I said, "He's okay. He's getting zapped." He goes, "Well, is it hurting him?" I said, "No, it's not hurting him." And what I personally believe is somehow they're making some type of a neurological connection. Who is this person? What is this? That's just my personal belief. And so I said, they're making a connection with him. And, so my son is holding him. If it's an infrasound, if it's a sound wave, why is my grandson feeling it?
Yeah.
But my son isn't. Why is it when I'm sitting and somebody's sitting, literally right next to me, I'm getting zapped and they're not, or they're getting zapped and I'm not, I just don't understand how that could be infrasound, because I do understand how sound waves travel.
Well, I think that the infrasound is probably just people's attempt, because it sounds like it's pretty universally accepted that something happens to a lot of people physiologically during these investigations, and I think everybody's just looking for what could be a natural explanation that is witnessed in other parts of nature. What could it be? And so I don't think anybody knows for sure it's infrasound, but it just seems like probably the most convenient explanation, because there is a precedent for it in the future.
Well, and one of the reasons that I think it has something to do with a neurological connection. My nervous system is shot. Chemical exposure to sarin nerve gas over in Desert Storm back in '91. My central nervous system doesn't operate like it should. And I used to get these bad jolts all the time. And since these zaps have been happening, I still get them, but not near as frequently as I used to. But it's like this charge goes all the way through my nervous system. And it's, other than trying to explain it like an electrifying feeling, there's more to it than that. There's almost a signature to it, because the one that I call Indy, one of my last trips up, he's over in a different location than where I was on this trip, distance of about 4 miles. But once again, I had that feeling somebody was standing behind me, and I was like, "Is that you, Indy?" Click, and then this power zap. I'm pinned to the chair, and it was familiar. Is the only way I can describe it. It almost like it had his signature to it.
Yeah.
Don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I don't know that there is anybody that could put that to words any better than that. I just think it's absolutely fascinating, but I can't pretend to understand it much at all personally. But I think it's fascinating, and I think there's so much we have yet to learn.
I'm going to put some questions up in a bit, but if we can just go back to the mind speak. I know it's probably like the most obvious question, but if you can communicate with them, and I know you seem to be you're asking them and then you seem to be getting the answers maybe days later or whenever, but have you asked them about what they are, to explain what they are and what they're doing? And
yes, I have. Just about, what are you, the only answer I ever get is, the people. Am I breaking up on you guys?
No, you froze a couple times, but it looks like you're back now.
Okay, maybe I'm talking about something I shouldn't be.
Well, yeah,
no,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
As far as who they are or what they are, the only thing I can tell you is the only thing I've ever gotten is the people. Anytime I've ever gotten received any type of a mind speak, it, it's more of a thought that's not my own enters my head. It's not like, they're talking and I'm hearing it in my head. It's it's a thought that's not my own, and it's usually just a couple of words. And I don't want this to come off sounding like every time I'm out there, I'm talking to them and they're talking back to me in mind speak, because it's not happening every time.
Mm-hmm.
But it happens enough that it gets your attention.
How often are you getting zapped? How often is that happening?
Every time I'm out.
Mm.
If I'm out and I don't get, and they're kind of like in different levels. I have the little tingles that I call the hellos were here, hello, we're here, just little zzz. Yeah, it's just like a little oh, okay, they're here. Other times it's it's a pretty good zap to where it's just like, whoa, that's pretty wild. But these what I call a power zap, I've had that happen, I don't know, maybe 12 to 15 times. And when that happens, you can guarantee within 30 minutes I'm going to bed, because I'm just a sack of potatoes afterwards.
Sure.
This is interesting off Marianne. Hello, Marianne. Why don't you have any fear of these beings? Do you think they will cross the line?
That's a very good question. I am glad you asked that. Back when this all first started, and I went out with Chuck the very first time, I was doing an investigation for the DFRO, and I really wasn't sure what to expect. My very first experience as a young Boy Scout scared the hell out of me, so there was fear there. And, so as Chuck's having his first sighting, and I'm getting off to my right-hand side, that I'm watching you, and it was very disconcerting. So I keep looking over, so, I'm on guard. I mean, I'm in combat mode, and all of a sudden I get this. You have, I don't even know if it was mind speak. It was more of an emotional feeling of, you don't have anything to worry about. Everything's okay, but I'm watching you. So it was very intense of, I'm watching you. Yeah. So that put me at ease. And as time progressed and trips, I keep going out and doing the same, the habituation thing over and over and over again. I mean, to the point where it's just so monotonously boring that, I get this mind speak to the effect of, I don't want to say we're protecting you, but we're going to keep you safe. And there is always a watcher. Family group goes off and does whatever the family group does, but there's always one somewhere around me keeping an eye on me. And I'll give you a real quick story on that. This was April of this year. Getting ready for the big family camp out. I went up a few days in advance, and I go out for a walk. I find all this firewood, and I'm like, oh, cool, firewood. And I get this in my head, you need a fire tonight. I don't want a fire tonight, And so I walk back, I get my truck, load the wood up, bring it back to camp, get the fire pit set up, load up the wood. And all throughout the day, I keep getting this, you need to have a fire tonight. I don't want a fire tonight. I like sitting in the dark, So now here I am being pig-headed, and this was actually the trip that I saw the white one, or the same night. And it started to get dark, pretty dark, and off in the distance to my 6 o'clock back behind me, I hear a pack of coyotes. Well, I've been in the outdoors my entire life. I'm not worried about coyotes one iota, and and I know my guys are going to keep me safe, but I keep getting this. You need a fire tonight. I don't want a fire tonight. Yeah, so now I got another pack of coyotes off to my 3 o'clock. And now I got another pack of coyotes off to my 10 o'clock. So I got 3 packs of coyotes coming in on me. And it's like, okay, I get it. I need to have a fire tonight. So I got up and put about a quarter gallon of gasoline on the fire, got a stick, threw it in. And there was no less than 30 dogs within about the farthest one that I could see out was probably about 60 yards out with the eye glow or the eye shine from when the fire lit up, but there was no less than 30 dogs. So once again, what do you do with that? But no, so I absolutely have no fear of them. They will only allow to happen what they're willing to allow happen. Is the best way I can describe it. I get it, I've gotten up, walked, towards where I'm hearing the sounds. If I get too close, they'll freeze me in my tracks. Okay, I get it. Close enough. Go sit down. So they can come as close to you as they want, but they will only let you come so close is what my experience is so far.
Do you think there's room to get closer? Do you think that might happen, or do you feel like that boundary is set?
The boundary is set by them. Like I said, they do what they do when they do it. Everything, when you're out in their house, you don't go walk into the master bedroom, unless the master says, come on in. It's entirely possible. That my goal is that someday I have developed enough trust that I have Junior sitting on my lap. Will that ever happen? No, but that's what my goal is. Have I had them close to me? Yeah, I have them touch me. I think it's the juveniles. They'll sneak up behind you and pop and take off. But they will come as close to you as they want, but you can only get so close to them.
Squatch Holly, your question's gone, but it was. Have you ever found any scat or hair?
Yes, I have found. That was one of the very first pieces of physical evidence I ever found, was this massive pile of human poop. I mean, it looked like a big human turd. Like I said, I have spent my entire life in the outdoors. I know what bear scat looks like. I know, you name it. I've been out, was an avid hunter. This was really big human poop. And I was like, so click, take a picture of it. That's the only time that I can actually say, yes, I found scat. I found some stuff that, it's possibly a bear. So if it's possibly a bear, I can't say that it's one or the other. Hair. I've found a couple of hairs. I have them, I use tweezers, picked them up, put them in a bag, because at this point in time, of what I was doing, I was like, oh, I got evidence, maybe we can do testing on it and that. And now I'm just like, yeah, so I got a hair, big deal,
Right. Yeah. That's great.
Did his grandson describe what he was feeling when he got zapped? Are you feeling the same things and the same as your friend as well? Are you all feeling the same thing from it?
Chuck feels it a little differently than I do. Chuck gets it mostly going across his forehead. And his description of it is like, if you've ever used a TENS unit, it's like having a TENS unit on high, and you just get this charge going across his forehead. I do believe a couple of times he's felt it down into the body, but once again, he's feeling it this way. I'm getting this full body thing, so isn't my neurological system reacting different to what he's experiencing? Don't know. As far as my grandson, he was 2 years old at the time. He's 3 years old now. So no, he doesn't explain it very much. But my 15-year-old grandson, who just had his first sighting back in July, he got power zapped, and it was pretty interesting. He's sitting to my right, Chuck's sitting to my left, kind of in front of me, and we're just sitting there talking, and all of a sudden my grandson is like, Papa, I can't, I'm having a hard time breathing. I said, relax. I said, tell me how you're feeling. He goes, I just feel funny over my whole body. I said, okay, you're getting zapped. I said, just relax. It's not going to hurt you. And then he started getting some, a little scared and started to cry a little bit. Yeah, so I got up and of course went over and I put my arm around him. I said, everything is okay. And so then I started talking to the forest people. I said, guys, this is my grandson. You're scaring him. If you can do something to let him know that everything's okay, I would greatly appreciate that. Just like that, my grandson sits up and he goes, I don't know why I was crying. I wasn't scared and I wasn't sad. And he actually got happy. And so I came and sat back down, and so we're talking about it. And my grandson gets up and he starts walking outside of the camp. He only walks about 25, 30 yards away max. Chuck and I are keeping our eye on him. It's pretty close to a full moon, but where he's walking into, it's a real shadow. And I'm watching him, and he just kind of stutters and stops, and he looks, and he backs up, and he comes walking back. Papa. I go, what, buddy? And he goes, I just saw one. I said, relax. I said, tell me what you saw. He goes, well, I thought I was looking at a stump until it turned its head and looked at me. Mm-hmm. And he said, and it came up to here on me, and he was squatting down. I said, okay, so he was squatting down. And he goes, yeah, he was squatting down, and he gets down in the same position. And, so squatting down, it came up to here on him, and he's almost as tall as me. I think he's 5'8", 5'9" right now. So figure squatting down, it was 5 feet tall. So it was a good size one. And matter of fact, one of those pictures you got, Daniela, the trackway, that was found just outside of the camp the next morning.
I didn't get any tracks. I think I just got structures and...
Oh, I didn't send you the tracks.
Don't think you didn't know. I've got another question. Have you used any devices to record any environmental changes during zaps?
Excellent question.
No, I have not. I am not an electronic savvy guy. I am an outdoors guy, so these, I don't know, a Gauss meter or whatever the paranormal researchers are using.
Testing for electromagnetic fields. Yeah.
No, I have never done that. And, if I had one of those, yes, I absolutely would, because I would like to see if this is something electromagnetic or if it's something. I don't have the answers for it. Sure. I will not run video cameras. I will not run trap cameras and stuff like that, because when I had used those in the past, no activity. Put them away, activity. Okay, real simple to figure out there.
Now, this might sound a little bit out there, but I'm just going to say it anyway, because, anything goes. Do you think the fact that these things can do this shimmering thing and then go from that to fully looking Bigfoot, say, do you think it could be something else that's emulating these beings are emulating Bigfoot, and it's something else doing it?
That's always a possibility, but do I think that's what it is? No. One one of my nighttime sightings, I watched one go from physical form into shimmering image right in front of me. You know, so I don't know. You know, I do believe you're going to be having Ron Moorhead on here in the not too distant future. His book is very phenomenal. You know, raised a lot of possible questions. You know, so once again, you know, diving back into quantum mechanics and, you know, what little we actually know about the quanti world. But, you know, if you look at, you know, things like Nikola Tesla said, when you think of the universe, thinking energy particles and waves, that, you know, or vibrations, particles and waves, or something to that effect, slip on my brain right now. But everything has its own vibration. And, you know, so if, you know, big if, you know, if these forest people have the ability to slow their vibration or speed their vibration up, and the visible light that we can see with our eyes, what our rods and cones can actually pick up, does that have something to do with it? My belief is yes. I know the hair structure of theirs, you know, is so remarkable. I think Christopher Noel just put a video up on the page about that, you know, with the hollow hairs and translucence and all that. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with it, you know, one in conjunction with the other. But you know, is it something else manifesting, trying to, you know, resemble a Sasquatch? I don't know. I don't believe so.
Some of those symptoms you're saying about being zapped, I've listened to some, you know, UFO and contactee recordings, and some people feel really elated after it. And you were saying before, after you were zapped, you felt, you know, a lot of energy and stuff. And some of these zapping times, that they could be drawing something from you. You're saying maybe connecting neurologically or whatever, but what if it's the other way around and they're actually taking something from you?
You know, I don't know if it's taken something from me. You know, if it's taken anything from me, I would like to think it's, you know, a lot of the pain that I suffer, you know, severe chronic pain from combat injuries and you know, just life injuries. But you know, that intense energy, you know, of, you know, having all that energy and up and dancing around, that happened once out of, you know, all these times. Most of the time, you know, get the zap and it's okay, you know, thank you, you know. What I can tell you is, you know, with all these experiences, you know, that I, not just myself, but everybody I'm taking out with me, are getting these same experiences. The things that this has done is it's, you know, it's caused me to love my wife and my kids more deeply, my friends more deeply. You know, it's making me a better person. You know, it's one of the reasons why I just keep going back out, because, you know, it's an improvement in life, you know. So now not only is it just me and my, you know, some acquaintances and some friends going out, but I've got 3 generations, myself, my wife, my children, my grandchildren, going out having these experiences. And, you know, when we're out on these family trips and this stuff happens, you know, this is bringing us in closer. This is, you know, this is causing us to love each other even deeper. You know, yeah, there's some what the hell was that moments, you know, and but, you know, in general, it's a beautiful thing, you know. So, you know, I get all these people, you know, that I hear that, oh, we were attacked by him. No, you weren't, you know. You might have been bluff charged, you know. They're going to test your metal, you know. They're going to see what you're made of, you know. And that's, you know, I would love nothing more than this next season to get Kerry out there, let him, you know, get a little different side of the experience of, you know, what he initially, you know, with his sighting.
Yeah. Well, you never know. You never know. He'll be watching at some point, and you can ask him. Well, look, we are coming to the end of the hour. There's so much more to go over, though, with you. I know we're only just scraping the surface. The last time you came on, it was exactly the same. We got to the end, and I realised we've got like so much more. So, you know, we'll definitely come back on again, and we can talk about more of it. So, thank you, Brent.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and great talking with you again, Kevin. It's always
a pleasure. Yeah, you too, Brent and Daniela.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So tomorrow we've got two guests on who've had encounters. One is Richie Evans, I think he's in the chat tonight, and another guy called Alan. Sorry, Alan, I don't know your surname, but we will see you tomorrow night. And Tuesday night we've got Ron Moorhead in, so that's going to be an exciting night. I think I'm looking forward to that. But until then, good night, everyone.
Yeah, peace out.
Good night, everybody. Take care.